DIY with Chris, giving you the tools to do it yourself.
We're going to cover how to clean your K&N air filter. For that, the first thing we want to do is actually remove your air filter. Ours looks something like this. It's most likely going to have a red tint to it, and as you look at it, you should be able to see some dirt or debris in there, especially if you've been using it a while. The main place you're going to see it is on the actual intake side, which is this side for us, and you can see some darkening of it where the dirt's coming in there and everything. You don't so much see it on the other side because this isn't the intake side. This should be the clean side because that's what's going into your engine at that point. So that's how we can tell if it actually needs cleaning, is just by that visual inspection to see if there's dirt and other debris in there. So the first thing we're going to do with this is take our K&N air filter set, and this is going to be a charger kit. You can find this at most automotive stores. It comes with a two pieces to the kit. Your first thing is going to be this spray bottle, and this is your air filter cleaner. So what we'll do is spray this on very thoroughly through this whole thing. That's going to help it get all that excess oil that was from the initial charge out of there, as well as the debris that's in it. So we'll remove the cap. We're going to point this away from us, and we're going to go ahead and spray this very thoroughly. We're going to do this on both sides and make sure that we completely cover this filter. After we've applied a nice thick layer of the oil, we're going to let this sit about 10 minutes, let that soak in and really start doing its job to break down the debris and oil that was left in it. Okay, so the next step we're going to take is to rinse off our air filter. The oil has been sitting in there. We let it sit in there for about 20 minutes, and so it's had plenty of time to actually soak in there, really get loose some of that debris, and we're going to rinse it off at this point. What we're going to use to rinse it off is just going to be our regular faucet here. Whenever you're rinsing it, you want to make sure that you're using a low pressure rinse. If you use a high pressure rinse, then you run the risk of ruining your fibers and knocking it loose. The other thing we're going to do is we're only going to rinse it from one side. So you have your intake side, and that's where all the dirt and the debris is going to be. Then you have your outtake side. So we're going to rinse it from the outtake side so that we push all the dirt and debris down through the intake side. So we're not taking it back in through the clean portion and back up through and lodging it further into the fibers. So we're going to rinse it at this point. Usually it has a red tint, and that's going to be from the oil that K&N uses to apply to the filter. But all that red tint is gone, and so is that dirty debris. I don't have any of that grass or any of the dirt in there. It's not discolored anymore. It's just a nice dull gray, dull white to show that clean filter. So next step we're going to do is just let this dry. Just let it dry naturally. It doesn't need to be dried by a hair dryer or any other means, otherwise you may ruin the fibers that are there. So just dry this using the sun. We're just going to let it sit out in the sun and dry off for about 45 minutes. Another thing you can do is just kind of shake it loose, try and get that extra water out of there to help it dry a little bit faster. If you peek through and see some of these vents still have a couple big chunks of dirt in them, you can take a screwdriver or your finger in there just very lightly and get them out. But other than that, it's pretty much clean at this point. We just want to let it dry, and then we'll apply our oil. Okay, and the last step we're going to take for this air filter is to put the air filter oil on it. So this comes in a spray can. Just take the lid off here. And I'm only going to apply this to the one side. I'm going to apply it to the intake side. Because if we apply too much, especially if we do it on the back side here, if we apply too much, then it can suck some of this oil back into the engine. It can get over your sensor, cause your lights to come on, or cause other malfunctions that we don't want down the road. So I'm just going to apply it to this one side. As it works, it'll work its way through the threading. So do nice even strokes and make sure that you get it on all of the filter. Make sure there are no dry spots left. We're we're going to let this sit for a few minutes just to dry off. Then we're going to go over it, check and see if there's any dry spots again. Do maybe one more coat, let it dry again, and we'll put it back in place. Okay, we've let our air filter dry just a little bit, so I'm going to do one final coating on it, and then we're going to put it back in the truck. So we're just looking for any dry spots on there that we may have missed with the oil on the first time. So I'm just going to do a cross weave on the spray. And just avoid over oiling it, because you don't want it to pull through. So we're going to let this dry again, wipe off any excess oil around the edges with a rag, and then we'll just put it back in the truck. For some vehicles it'll just be a clamp, for some it's the Phillips screws. That's what we had to do on our truck. DIY with Chris, giving you the tools to do it yourself. DIY with Chris, giving you the tools to do it yourself.